It had to do a lot with my immigration status. It had to do a lot with like roadblocks along the way to try to get to my path. But that never held me back from pursuing my dream. Even though there was a lot of obstacles, I said no. Eventually, I'm gonna have all my cards in play and I'm gonna be able to go to optometry school and continue my education.
Welcome to the Ryan Reflects podcast. I'm Dr. Ryan Corte. Wherever you're listening, make sure to hit that subscribe, follow, or like button. That small click tells your platform this is content worth sharing. And my promise to you is to keep delivering value that helps you grow as an optometrist. Thanks again, and enjoy today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ryan Reflects. My name is Dr. Ryan Corte. I'm so grateful that you are tuning in today. I have a good friend, colleague, and somebody who I met recently at a Vision Expo meeting. Welcome to the show, Angelica Cifuentes.
Hey Ryan, how are you?
I'm good. It's great to have you on the show. And for those who don't know you, because I mean, you have put on just a great display of, I would say, just life on social media as an optometrist, as somebody living in Florida, as somebody who is promoting the profession and collaborating. But for those who don't know you, Angelica, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Dr. Angelica Cifuentes, practicing out of Miami, Florida. Um, I'm an optometrist, obviously. I love social media, so I go on social media by Tiny Optometrist. I am part of a bunch of organizations. If we sit here and list them, we're gonna be here forever. I also love to talk to everyone and share my experience, my journey through. I started social media when I was in optometry school, so I shared all of that and I carried that on now in my professional life. I like to sprinkle my personality on social media too. I'm also the co-founder of Buy Dry Eyes, and yeah, I don't know. There's so much, but that's just a little snippet of me.
No, I mean, well, and that's awesome because you're, early on in your career and you're already doing so many awesome things. But I want to take a step back. I want to get back into kind of the childhood you and tell me about where you're born, raised, and what that pathway to even thinking and discovering optometry looked like.
Of course, so I was actually born and raised in Cali, Colombia, and at age 12, we migrated to the United States to Miami. And so from a very early young Angie, I wanted to be a doctor. I just didn't know what type of doctor I wanted to be. I just always liked the medical field. And I have always been very good with math and science. So it was kind of something I wanted to do. Here in the States, everything was fine. And I wanted to be a pediatrician really bad. And in senior year, my mom surprised everybody with a brand new baby. And when my little sister was born, it was that moment that I realized that pediatrics was just not for me, which was heartbreaking because for such a long time I was kind of working towards that goal.
Mm-hmm.
It was just not for me, right? So, which I'm so glad it happened senior year of high school because imagine had it been later. So I just said as pre-med, I said, I'm gonna eventually figure it out. One day I was actually studying for anatomy and we were in the chapter of the eye, and my brother was like, "Hey, I think my contact lens is floating in the back of my eye," and I was like, "I don't think that's anatomically possible." He's like, "You don't know anything," and I'm like, "I'm chapter," and he's like, "No, you don't know anything. My contacts is now floating in my brain," and I'm like, "All right, let's take it to an eye doctor because maybe I don't know anything." We went to see Dr. Vanessa Marino. At the time, she was Dr. Vanessa Gonzalez, who later on became my mentor. But that day, I saw how he came in with such high concern and left at such peace that I asked her if I could shadow. And that week, I saw so many things. I remember seeing like a retinal detachment that week, and I saw like pediatrics, and I saw adults. So many aspects of optometry that completely engaged me. And I was just like, this is what it just clicked. I'm like, I've never felt anything like this. So since I started shadowing her, and I did that for like 2 years, then I went into working and I worked, you name it. I did receptionist, year front desk. I did the optical. I was helping adjust glasses, selling glasses. I did a little bit of lab work. I did it all the way to I was like, okay, I'm at the point where I need to just become the doctor. And
Mm-hmm.
that's I went into optometry school, graduated, and then here we are.
Wait, so you were senior year in undergrad? Is that my understanding? When you realized that you were going down the wrong pathway, you didn't want to go to be a pediatrician, or was that senior year in high school?
Senior year high school.
Okay. And mom had a little one and you maybe went to a couple pediatric appointments and you're
Yeah.
like,
No, she was getting sick, and I was like, this little creature is not talking to me. And I'm like, I don't know how I do it. And I have the utmost respect for pediatricians. And even in our world, there's pediatric optometry, and I have the utmost respect for them. But that's when I realized pediatrics is just not for me. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep it as pre-med and I'll figure it out. And then I did. So I'm so glad. I'm so happy.
well, and I think that's how a lot of us land in optometry, the profession itself. I think the definition of the profession and the advocacy and just the general public's understanding of what we do as eye health and vision care professionals needs to continue to be broadened and compounded and expanded upon. And it took your brother sharing something that when you were in anatomy class, and we know very well, but a lot of our patients fear, it took your brother having one of those fears for you to meet your mentor and kind of dive into that. So
Yeah.
have you ever thanked him for that? Like, have you ever come back and be like, hey, bro, this is why I went down this pathway? Have you guys ever talked about that?
Yeah, but he's like, no, I didn't say that. I'm like, yes, you did. And I'm like, this is the reason why I am where I'm at. But I also love the fact that in optometry, when I went into optometry, I just thought it was, your regular private practice doctor and you see your patients 9 to 5 and you're out the door. But throughout the years, I learned first, there's a diversity of optometry things that you can there's like I mentioned pediatric optometry, then you can have medical optometry. There's different types of optometry that you can get into, specialty in contact lenses, etc. But also you can do industry. You can do so many things with the optometry, like within the optometry world, that to me is still amazing. Like every single time I hear of like, oh, but I'm an optometrist and I do XYZ. And I'm like, that's amazing. When I was in undergrad, never did I ever think that that was a possibility. Even though I already knew I wanted to be an optometrist, I didn't know that those type of things were available within my degree. Do you know what I mean?
Percent. Yeah, I think that within this profession, we have a very broad opportunity pool. We really do. We can practice in so many different settings and we can specialize in so many different ways, and it keeps it interesting. And so
Yes.
you shadowed, you said, for 2 years, and then you also worked in the clinic. Tell me, like, how do you feel like that's made you a better optometrist, knowing what you know through all of that experience? That's a lot of pre-optometry school experience.
Yeah. So I think that has helped me throughout optometry school and even after. Through optometry school, all those little skills that I gained, I was able to use them through class. So when we're in ophthalmic lab and contact lenses, I was already doing INRs prior to going to optometry school. I was fixing glasses, so it was very easy for me to do that. Reading them, I was able to do lensometry. So there was a lot of things that I was like, oh my God, I did this for work. And now I'm
Mhm.
doing cool. And I'm like, that is so cool. So it kind of gave me a little bit of cushion when people were studying to do certain things. I was like, I know that because I've done this before so many times that let me just go ahead and study for another subject. So that helped me throughout optometry school. It also helped me solidify like the love that I have now as a professional. It helps me understand everybody's perspective and point of view when there's an issue at hand because I've been there. So if let's say the front desk there's a patient who is just not being kind to them or they get frustrated, I understand. I've been there. So then it's easier for me to help them navigate that. Same thing with the optical. If they're busy or whatever, I'll grab a pair of tools and help fix the glasses and adjust them because I've not only they were learning in school, but I've done this before. Same thing when the patients are asking me inside the exam room, like, hey, what are my insurance benefits? What do they cover? What do they not? Look through them and I'm like, oh yeah, because I've learned how to read the benefits from insurances. So I'll explain to them and we talk about lens materials and all of the things that I'm like, this has been building up since I was 18. And now I'm here using them, all those little tools, tips, tricks that I've learned prior to optometry school. I use it through optometry school and now I'm using it in my everyday at work. So every single time that I have a student shadow me or anybody asking me about optometry, I say, please do shadow, find somebody to shadow. And don't just focus on the doctor. Go and hang out with the tech. Go and hang out with the optician because believe it or not, that's going to help you so much down the road. I never knew that all those little tools that I just found it to be work were going
Hmm.
to me so much throughout my entire career. So I love it. The experience is just something that I can't even begin to explain how important it is, and how talking to patients is also something that you learn along the way, whether they're happy or upset, is things that you can navigate easier.
Yeah, I mean, what we do is so much more than which is better, one or two, not
Mhm.
only from the clinical side, but if you're a practice owner, you're involved in the practice to a certain capacity, you understand that whole patient journey a lot better, right? And you saw it because you were in the trenches. I have right now somebody who is on my team and she's going to optometry school and she's done it all, right? Just like you referenced. And that's an experience I didn't have before I went into the profession. I didn't spend a ton of time. I did some shadowing, but right there with you. If you can shadow, but if you can also get a job, get into the trenches
Mhm.
of doing some of those support team member roles, wow, it gives you a newfound appreciation for what we do and how we best serve people. So thank you
Yeah,
for
and
sharing that.
your your staff so much. They
Hmm.
appreciate. Now you understand it, not from your point of view as a doctor, but also from theirs, because you've been there. So it's you get more, I would say, like eye to eye, or
Hmm.
just share that with them, and you can help them navigate through the problems either with the patients that they're currently having. I don't know. I find it that it has been so helpful for me to have that previous experience and being able to just utilize it.
And then you went to Nova, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, and stayed in the south part of Florida, right? So
I
tell me a
really
little bit about your experience just going to Nova and then how this whole the handle tiny optometrist came to fruition and kind of took off. I want to hear that.
Yeah, so I always wanted to go to Nova. My mentor went to Nova. Every doctor that I was seeing in Miami was going to know, like they had gone to Nova. So I said, okay, I definitely would love to go to Nova. When I went to apply to Nova, Nova was one of the top schools. So I was just like, okay, it's gonna be hard, but I want to, and I'm a non-traditional student. So I said this is gonna be even harder for me. But I said it's okay, it's fine. I still was not, and this is something that I share with a lot of my students. They always want to apply to their dream school, and that's it. And
Hmm.
for a long time, until I had a talk with my mentor, and she's like, okay, is your goal to be a doctor that graduates from Nova Southeast University, or is your goal to become an optometrist regardless of where you graduate? And that really touched base with me. I was just like, I really do want to become an optometrist regardless of where I graduate from. So I applied to other schools. During the application process, I remember submitting my application right before Christmas. So I was like, this is the wrong time to submit something because everybody's out of the office. And I'm like, wow, Angelica, you're doing this the wrong way. But I submitted it. I was like, oh my God. January 2nd, I started getting interviews, but they were nowhere from Nova. It was like Chicago and where else, I can't remember. But I was just like, oh my gosh, I kept pushing them, and I'm like, come on, Nova, like please just like give me a chance. And I heard back from Nova like the second week of January, and they're like, we want to schedule you for an interview. And I was like, oh my God, absolutely yes. But there was trips already coming up, so I was like, okay, like I have to trips as far as like going to the interviews.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'll just schedule it later. That same week, I remember that I received the email Monday. They called to me and they said, do you think you can come this Friday for your interview? I was like, God, I don't even have an outfit. Of course, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And I'm like, I don't have an outfit to go to this interview, but I said yes anyway. Went straight from work, got an outfit at Macy's, and I was like, I'm just gonna go.
Do it.
Went to the interview, and they let you know a week after the interview. And I was that Friday that I was supposed to receive the news from Nova. The following Saturday, I was flying out to Chicago because Monday I had my interview in Chicago for optometry school. And so they reach out to me and they're like, we just want to see if you'd be interested in taking a seat in the class. And I went crazy. I like cried. I was like, I can't believe this is happening to me. I immediately called the other schools that I had scheduled the interviews, canceled them completely because I was like, I got into my dream school, right? So it was honestly a beautiful moment. I feel like it's a school that I really, really, really wanted to attend. And the fact that it just happened the way it happened to me was just truly meant to be in a way. But yeah, that's how that happened. And through optometry school, created my social media. My handle was horrible. It was like future Dr. Angelica Maria, like my whole name. And my name is already long as it is. So I'm like, oh my God. And I'm Hispanic. So I have my dad's and my mom's last name, Fuentes Reyes. And I'm like, and my have a middle name. So imagine it's a whole paragraph. We're studying for an exam, and my friend Melissa Gray, she also does social media. She we're studying and she was like, hey, your name is horrible on social media. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. And she's like, she's like, that name is too long. It's a whole paragraph. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, can we just go back to study? She goes, no, we need to handle this right now. I was like, okay. So she's like, why don't you get the name Tiny Optometrist? And I said, why? She's like, well, she's like, you're small. I'm like, I know. And I'm like, but how did you come up with that? She's like, I've had it on it. She had a list of names that she would have wanted to use. She's like, I had it for myself, but I have yet to meet anyone tinier than you. So I feel like you should have the name. So I was like, okay, let me think about it. I'll just think about it. She's like, okay. The next day I was making eggs for breakfast. I remember this clearly. And it just stayed in my mind. And I was like, Tiny Optometrist. And I'm like, honestly, I kind of like it. So I'm like, I think I'm gonna take it if it's cool with you. She was like, of course, silly. Like I told you to have it. So I changed my handle, and she's like, but now that we have a good name, let's actually do social media for real this time, because I was barely posting. I was more stressed out and crying than doing anything else. So I said, okay. She goes, let's try to make it like a hobby while we're in school. No problem. We started taking silly pictures, and like I started sharing a little bit more. It became my outlet. I was so stressed out going through optometry school that I found I needed something to give me joy. And that's what social media became. It just gave me a little outlet to release my stress, be a little bit creative, have something to think about that is different from hitting the books and getting tests and, doing everything that you had to do in time to school. So we started just for it to be a hobby. And then I remember it was like second, third year, and it started to like pick up. And I was like, okay. And then fourth year, it became like this movement. And I remember calling her and I'm like, hey, I'm getting like a bunch of followers. And she's like, yeah, you're doing good. And I'm like, you're my biggest cheerleader. I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, I'm totally winging. I'm like, I'm just sharing who I am and my personality. And I never thought in a million years people would resonate with that. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I'm sharing the good, the bad, the up, the down, like me stressed out about school, being super happy that I got a great test. When I got bad grades, I shared it all. So it just became this momentum. And then I graduated and it took off. I was just like, oh my God, what happened here? I don't even know. People sometimes ask me for advice, and I'm like, the only thing I have to give you is to be you, because I don't even know myself. I've learned a lot throughout the years of being in this world, but it's for me, it started as a hobby. I didn't think of sitting down and looking at metrics and doing nothing special. When somebody once asked me for insights, I was like, what is that? So I had to look it up, and I'm like, Google, what is insights? And idea, everything I've learned little by little. And it's been truly just sharing my experience, my mind, my personality, this crazy little Latina, and it's worked out.
I love that you followed your heart to where you wanted to go to school. Like you even explored the opportunity with interviews and going out of state, going out of your comfort zone. But what I really love, even beyond that, is as you reference, you were authentically yourself on what you put out there, which is huge, right? Life isn't always rainbows and butterflies.
Hmm.
We all run into a lot of, roadblocks, challenges, issues, problems, good days, bad days, ugly days. And I think that you're just very relatable on that. And I can truly commend you that you continue to put your best foot forward in that relatability factor, and you make it fun. So, I know, for example, my wife and I, like, sometimes we'll just put on a show in the evening, and depending what it is, it could be completely mindless, right? Just to let your mind just go elsewhere. And that was your escape route for a challenging 4 years of optometry school.
No, most definitely. I feel like also the fact that I was a non-traditional student and I started to share that, it helped a lot of Hispanic
Mm.
wanting to pursue the career and being like, is this something that's even within my cards for me? And I feel like just sharing my story, which took a while for me to actually share. it was just one time that it was brought up, and I just actually opened up and I said, this is exactly what happened, and this is why I'm a non-traditional student. And I feel like that has helped a lot of students believe in themselves and say, I can do it too. She did it, I can too. So I don't know. I feel like it's beautiful too. Everybody's story is so different. So why would you just be another face on social media that is just like everybody else? Just be different. Be you. Share your story. Help others. You know, lift people up. And I feel like that giving back to the community like that definitely just helps along the way in every single aspect.
Non-traditional because you didn't jump straight out of undergrad, or non-traditional because
Yeah.
you, yeah. So tell me about that a little bit then. Like, how many years did you take off in between undergrad and optometry school?
So I graduated high school when I was 16. So it was for me to technically be done with school by tech 24, like with optometry school by 24. But I graduated 16. I started undergrad at like 17. I did my first 2 years. I took a break. I said, I'm super young. Like, I have time. What was 1 year ended up being close to 5. And so, and along those years, it had to do a lot with my immigration status. It had to do a lot with like roadblocks along the way to try to get to my path. But that never held me back from pursuing my dream. Even though there was a lot of obstacles, I said no. Eventually, I'm gonna have all my cards in play, and I'm gonna be able to go to optometry school and continue my education. And so it took me nearly 5 years to go back to school, right? But during those 5 years is when I shadowed, when I got a job in the optical world, when I started truly learning all the little details and all the little positions. So I wasn't wasting my time, nor was I just waiting for a miracle. I was actively trying to continue to pursue this goal, right? Then after nearly 5 years, I got to go back to finish my bachelor's degree. And coming back that first semester, I took 16 credits, which school itself was against me doing because I hadn't been in school for over 5 years. But I did that. I got the dean's list. And I was working full time. I had bought a house between those gap years. So now I had adult responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working full time, I was taking classes full time, tons of caffeine, lack of sleep, not a great mix, but I was so determined that this was meant to be for me and I was going to achieve it no matter what, that I just kept on pushing day in and day out, day in and day out. And I graduated with my bachelor's. I did my gap year of, applying to optometry school, doing the OAT, da da da. And then I got into my dream school. So it was just that it was not I graduated high school, went to my 4 years straight to college, and then after 4 years, I just went to optometry school, and then ta-da! No, for me, it was definitely very different than most people. But I feel like that rough patch, I learned so much and I wouldn't change it any other way. I feel like it was the perfect timing for me. I got to learn so much. I matured. I was 110%. I wanted to be an optometrist. There was no plan B for me. It was always, a lot of people always be like, if it wasn't optometry, what else would have been? Nothing, nothing. It was either optometry and optometry. And I had a lot of friends when I was not in school saying, why don't you do something else? I'm like, no, I'm like, time is gonna pass by anyway. Whether I do something or not with my life, it's going to pass by. So I might as well do something that I'm going to be truly happy doing for the rest of my life, which luckily for me is optometry. There's not a day that I wake up and I'm like, oh, I have to go to work. No, I love it. Like I go and see my staff and I go and talk to my patients, and to me it's a vibe. I'm like, yes, let's go and let's fix some eyes and let's talk. And I love what I do so much that I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change my journey. I wouldn't change anything that I've gone through to be where I'm at right now.
I can feel it just in talking to you how much you advocate and love this profession. I I can tell you that we don't have, we have a number of colleagues that don't feel that way, right? So I love that you're radiating that. Some people maybe are frustrated, or they get burnt out, or they may wish they went a different pathway. But you're talking so highly about your current job and the staff. Tell me a little bit about that transition from optometry school into your working career as an optometrist? Did you do a residency? Did you go straight out? Like, what did all that look like, and kind of where are you now?
Yeah, so through fourth year of optometry school, that's when kind of everybody starts talking about residency and whatnot. And all my close friends were doing residencies. And I was like, am I supposed to do a residency? Which was a really hard time through fourth year because I didn't know how to navigate that. I didn't know how do you truly find out if you want or need to do a residency after you graduate, right? I feel like a lot of students go through the same question about it. And so I was in that limbo. I was like, should I do a residency? And I'm like, what would be the benefits of me doing a residency versus not doing a residency? Am I ready for the real world? Like, what's going on? So I have this really good now colleague, but he's been my professor. And I just sat him down and I was like, listen, I need you to tell me, give it to me raw. Just tell me the truth. Be super honest with me. Do you think I need a residency? If the answer is yes, I will do one because all my friends are doing it. So I might as well do one too. But if you're like, I don't think so, then I won't because I really just don't know. He's like, look, Angelica, do you plan to do any sort of like education or something in the, in that type of field? I was like, no, I definitely know that is not for me. I'll educate on social media, but I am not someone that, I'm going to go to a classroom and teach others. I don't foresee myself doing that. So he's like, okay. He's like, then I think the answer for you is no. And I'm like, that's it. He's like, you have the skills and you're ready to go into a real world. He's like, if I saw that you were just not ready yet for the real world, then I'll say go into a residency so you can have a little bit more experience. But
Mm-hmm.
he don't like you're so ready to go, just go for it. And he's like, and if you change your mind, you can always go back and do it. I said, okay. And I'm like, you know what? Then I'm gonna be the odd one and not do residency. I did it with my friend Melissa. She's like, I'm also not doing. So we were both a little bit older. Melissa also had a little bit of kind of similar path as mine. So it was different for us. And I just went straight out of school into the real world. Now, prior to me going to optometry school, all I ever did was private practice, right? So I knew how private practice works, how optometrists work in private practice, etc. That was my world, and really genuinely, I thought that's what I was gonna do fresh for graduation. During fourth year, I also did my externships in medical optometry because I was curious to know what that would feel like and what that would be like. What does that look like on a day in, day out? I loved it. At one point, I even was like, wow, I should have been like a retinal specialist. And then I was like, wait, what's wrong with you? Like, no. Um, I swear, I loved it that much. A little deludo there. And then when I was graduate, I was getting offers. Thankfully, I had offers in different scenarios. I had a private practice offer, I had a medical optometry, a couple of medical optometry offers. And then Dr. Idris had DM'd me for a couple months already. And she's like, hey, let's talk, hey, let's talk, hey, let's talk. And I was just like, I looked and I'm like, oh, this I've never done commercial. I don't know how to feel about commercial. There's that stigma in
Mm-hmm.
commercial. Not that we're not real doctors, but it's like you know what I'm talking about? It's like not at the same caliber as like a private practice in a way. And it's just a concept that people, I feel like they're wrong in thinking that way. But I didn't know that then. I was just like, oh, this commercial I've never done. I didn't even consider commercial. So I just said, okay, let's go for breakfast and let's talk about this. So I sat down with her. She explained to me her mode of practice. And I just told her, I'm like, look, I would love to try it because this is the perfect time for me to try something else. I just graduated. So, like, why not? And I'm like, let me try commercial practice. I said, but I do to be able to practice optometry the way I like to practice optometry. I'm like, I don't want to be in a commercial practice where it's in and out, in and out, in and out. We're just looking at numbers. And I'm like, I personally is not with my personality, it's not with how I view optometry. I need to be able to have a connection with my patients and talk to my patients. And so she said, no problem. We'll get you started. Like, we'll work together. I said, okay, perfect. So we started and we clicked. Everything was perfect. I was able to connect with my patients. I found this new world that I had never experienced. I did work my first year a little bit in private practice and a little bit in commercial. And eventually I just transitioned completely to commercial. So I'm with Blinky now and Dr. Idris Fatin. And I've been with her for now 3 years. And I love it. I love the freedom that I get by working in that type of setting. I love my patients. I love that they come back to me and they're like, oh my God, let me tell you a little bit. Like we have that connection. We already have history. I honestly, the staff is amazing. So I'm very happy where I am. I'm grateful that I talked to her and that we sat down and she explained to me that she was able to work with me so that I can still feel comfortable in the way I wanted to practice optometry while being in a commercial setting.
How would you then describe to somebody listening, maybe they're a new grad, maybe they've only worked in private practice, the similarities and differences? Like, what does that look like from your experience?
From what I see is that in private, and it depending on what you want to do, right?
Hmm.
I years did I think that my career was going to take off the way it did when I graduated, which required a lot of time for me to do other activities. So besides being in clinic, I also needed to go to events and travel and do certain things. Me personally, freedom of time was important. I needed to be able to say, "Hey, I need to take off XYZ days. Is that cool? Yes, no problem. Let's get you covered and we're good to go, right? To me, that time is important. Freedom to be able to do whatever it is that I need to do is important to me. When I was in private practice, it was a little harder to take time just like that because now you're in a more, not strict, but kind of setting where you are expected to be there from this time to this time, these certain dates to take the time off. Then now it's just the culture is different versus in commercial. Commercial is a little bit more flexible with that. So in private practice, they have the specific doctors, and there's no, I'm going to fill in here. It's not usually the typical way a private practice would run. So that's different. Obviously, when it comes to the business side of it, it's night and day different. You know, private practice, you have overhead, you have to handle your accounts and all of the things. In a sublease, it's different. You're handling just a sublease, and then the optical tends to be separated. So in that aspect is different. But for me, I think what made the biggest difference was that flexibility with my time. And so that's what sold me. And I was like, I love the fact that I get to take off and do every other thing that I have on my schedule to do. And there's no problem with that.
Well, yeah, you've built a brand. You're probably getting tapped on the shoulder to do this event or go to that conference or do, speak here. All those things do take time. And a lot of times they happen in peak times. If you're an associate in a private practice, you'd have to use paid time off. But in a setting that is, for example, a sublease that you're in, I know Fountain well. Maybe she's like, okay, you can have that time. And then if you want to pick up extra days, you could pick up this Saturday or pick up this
Exactly.
Sunday. And so you're still able to even
Mm-hmm.
financially, you're offsetting it, right? And so it just gives you that flexibility. I couldn't agree more. And I think a lot of subleases are ran at a very high level. Obviously I have a
Mm-hmm.
sublease practice, and so I think those who don't know, you can run it at an extremely high level, just as efficiently and effectively and impactfully as a private office, without the headache of the optical side of the equation. Now, don't get me wrong, the optical provides revenue, right? And there's a definite value in having control of that, but there's also headache, right? So I think different strokes for different folks, and I'm glad you found that worked for you, because you
Yeah.
are entrepreneurial, right? You even referenced you are co-founder of a dry eye company. Tell me a little bit about how that came to fruition.
So I always wanted to do contact lenses, specifically scleral contact lenses throughout optometry school. And then when I graduated, I found this love for dry eye, and I was like, this is a world that in optometry school, that was not being, we never had a dry eye class. We talked about dry eye as a disease, but it was part of our disease class. It was not like a specific class for that. And so I started looking into it and I was like, man, I really want that. So I remember I had just gotten my license in the mail and I called my husband. I was like, I want to open up a dry eye clinic boutique, just dry eye. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah. He's like, no, no. He's like, you just got your license. Like, what? He's like, and you're not gonna do any comprehensive eye exams. And I'm like, nope. I just want to do dry eye. He's like, that's not smart. He's like, that's just, it's not, right now is not the right time, Angie. He's like, we can maybe down the road, but I don't think this is like the right time to do that. And I'm so grateful that I have him because I am a dreamer and I just dream and like think of these ideas. And he's the one who's like, let me bring you down to earth really quick and let's talk logistics. And so we left it at that, and I just continued to learn more and more and more about dry eye, get more into that world. And then one day he calls me and he's like, hey, you have a moment? I was like, yeah. He's like, what about we work on an e-commerce dry eye business? It's still dry eye, but let's do it online. And I was like, okay, we could do that. He's like, you're still getting a little bit of your dry eye, but let's just do that first. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. So we started working behind the scenes, just very me and him, hush hush, as to like everything that goes behind launching a brand and a website and everything. And I remember we were supposed to launch in January and we couldn't wait until December. We just decided let's just do it. And I was already out for a year maybe out of optometry school, not even close to a year. And we launched Buy Dry Eyes. It's an e-commerce website where you can find all products for dry eye, and it's been great. It's definitely been a learning experience, but I love it. I love being able to still help people with dry eye, even if it's virtually. And who knows where that's going to take us, but it's lovely, and I get to work alongside of my husband. He's literally the motor behind everything. He's the behind the scenes. I'm like the face of the company. But it's been great. It's been great. So yeah, that's how we decided to have By Dry Eyes.
I love the husband and wife collab. And where in the heck did you find the time to get married during all that you were doing, right? You didn't drop that one in there. So you got married. Was it during optometry school, before optometry school?
It was during the gap that I was that
Yeah.
I that's when I got married and I bought a house, and I saw my life taking up as a like going up as an adult, and I was like, wait, before I'm fully blown adult, let me go into optometry school.
Yeah. I like, the vast majority of optometry students that become out and become optometrists, they don't quote unquote adult with the marriage and the home and all those factors, kids and yada yada
Yeah.
until later on. And so you jumped the gun. You're like, hey, I met the one. There's good real estate, and real estate never goes down. So let's do this. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, my trajectory was not the common trajectory that people do, that the things that people do in order. They go to college, then get engaged, married, kids. Mine was a little mixture. Had to be a little different. So
And you know
yeah.
what? I don't think you'd have it any other way, right? I mean, life is a journey, and you've had all these unique experiences. Tell me a little bit about some of the more enjoyable either organizations or experiences you've had just through all the things that you're involved in, because you reference you're involved in a lot.
Right now, I'm loving Latinos in Optometry. I am part of the board, and I love just what we're doing because we're hitting now kids in from elementary, I mean, from middle school to high school and introducing them into the world of optometry. I feel like we always know in high school about different careers, etc. But in middle school, that I remember, well, I was only here for half of eighth grade, so I can even speak. But I don't think that a lot of careers are being introduced in middle school. So I love that. I love that we're getting involved with schools early on so that kids know that there is something called optometry and it's something that you can actually do and that is fun. So I love doing that. I'm also part of the Miami-Dade Optometric Association, so I'm a board member there too. And I love advocating for optometry just in general. I am not a very politician type of person. It's not in my personality. But if you touch optometry, I am your politician. Don't touch. It's like a baby. Love optometry, and if I have to advocate and get things done, I am your girl. When it comes to optometry, everything else could care less. But optometry, no. So, and that's something I found out throughout the year, especially with that can call yourself Dr. Bill that happened like 2022. I don't know what happened within me that I was just like, this can't happen. And I started to, nobody was talking about it. And I kept getting frustrated. And I was like, I'm going to use my channels to talk about this because nobody, either they don't know or they're just afraid to talk about it. And I just started advocating. And then I realized I'm like, I really love advocating for my profession. So I got involved with the board and here I am. But yeah, those
Incredible.
are, yeah, I still help students at Nova with their shadowing experiences, like whenever they have breaks they want to come and observe, I let them. I think Nova has a club, is I forgot the name right now, I'm blacking out, but I give them like glasses from patients so that they can take them to trips, and SVOSH, there it
That's
is.
posh, yeah.
And so I still try to stay involved with the school and try to help the school clubs so that, whatever they need, a helping hand on the outside world.
Well, yeah, I had a podcast recently with Adam Ramsey, and he was telling me about Black Eye Care Perspectives. So Latinos in optometry, similar mission, right? You're trying to get, young Latino students in high school involved in the
Mhm.
profession, just like Black Eye Care Perspectives, same goal, right? Just going back to the roots of these schools and these colleges and getting more diversity within optometry. So I absolutely love that you are doing that. And you and I met, and it was at Vision Expo, and you were doing kind of a social media, you had like a media pass, and you were doing like from your eyes,
Yeah.
kind of like just a peek behind the curtains of a lot of things. Tell me about that experience.
So, fun fact, I'm doing that in Vegas in 2 weeks.
Nice.
So I get hired by different companies to do certain collaborations and partnerships. And this one caught me completely off guard. They just reached out to me, I remember, and they were just like, hey, are you planning to go to Vision Expo? And at the time, I wasn't. So I was like, no, I don't have it in my cards. Like, I already kind of have my hours and whatever. And they're like, no, we want you to be part of our social media influencers for Vision Expo. And I was like, what? I'm like, tell me more. So they're like, yeah, we just want you to go, have fun, tell it how it is. You're very honest on your channel, so just be you, share your point of view, and let us know how you like it or what you think we can improve. I was like, okay. I'm like, I can say anything. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because I am a very transparent person. I love sharing things, like I said, good and bad. And that's something that that's like a policy of mine. When companies reach out to me and they're like, hey, we want to collaborate with you. I've said no to so many just because I don't agree or I don't believe in the product or I haven't tried the product. So how can I possibly share that with my audience when I haven't even done it myself? And so I try to have the products beforehand, try everything before I even speak about them, whether they're frames, lenses, it does not matter. I put it on first, try things first, and then I can genuinely talk to the audience about it. To me, I feel like honesty and transparency is so important, and I don't want to be a influencer or social media person where I'm just shoving things down your face where they're not something that I truly believe in. So everything that I always talk about are things that I truly genuinely love, care, have tried, and I'm now okay sharing with everybody else. And so when they said you can do whatever you want and share, well, I was like, perfect. So I did, and I got to experience Vision Expo. I had gone to one in New York when it was like the last one. And so then I went to one in Orlando in February, and I got to share kind of like the behind the scenes, what happens when they're making everything work, because I got to meet with the staff, and then seeing how like every booth is different, and I just had a different taste, a different experience, and I just shared it all. They loved it, and they're like, we would love to have you back for Vegas. Like, oh my God, I've never been to Vegas before. So I said, absolutely, yes, sign me up. And now I'm super excited because now I get to go to Vegas, but also see what Vision Expo is like in Vegas because I've also never been. So super excited.
The tiny optometrist who's extra transparent with a big heart, right? I mean, listen, you are 100% your brand and what you put out there. And authenticity is key. I'm right there with you. I've been asked to do a number of consulting projects or speak for companies. And I won't get up there behind the mic if I don't believe in what we're doing or what the product is, the
Agree.
service that's provided. You just totally dilute who you are at the core. And it's not for the right reasons. I want to be sensitive of your time and leave you with this. What's next on your docket? Like in the next 5, 10 years, where do you see yourself? And then any final thoughts for those listening about the profession or just uplifting thoughts?
So it's funny that you asked me the 5 to 10 year because that question has been asked to me so frequently lately, and I cannot tell you. And the reason why is because my entire life I've always tried to have a plan. I'm a little bit of a type A personality, so I always like to have plans. But after optometry school, I had a plan of what my life was going to look like. And it completely took a 360 turn. And I love where my career has gone through. And not having a plan, I feel like, is what has worked for me right now. All the different opportunities and all the doors that have opened for me that I never in a million years did I ever think I was going to be blessed to have. that it's hard for me to now adhere to a plan. So TBD, because I have no idea. I'm open to opportunities. I embrace everything that's coming my way. So you'll be as shocked as I am to whatever happens to me in the next 5 to 10. If I do end up coming up with something, I'll share. But as of right now, I'm leaving it open into the universe to see what happens next. So it's working for me. It's worked since I graduated. So I'm just letting things flow for now. And as far as uplifting words, honestly, just for any student that's watching this, or just anybody in general, believe in yourself. Anything and everything happens for a reason. Your obstacles is not the end of the world, it's not the end of your goal. It was shaping you to become the person that you're meant to be. And I fully 100% believe in that. So just believe in yourself, keep pushing forward, don't deviate from your goals, and make things happen.
I absolutely love it. I love just the vibes you're putting out there, the choose your own adventure. You've had like, as you referenced, you had to fight through certain times in life, and you've always had a plan. What's next? What's next? What's next? But letting the universe, letting life come to you. Thank you so much for spending the time today. For anybody who wants to get a hold of you, you're very active on social. Do you have a preferred way? I know your handle is at Tiny Optometrist. Is that the best way to, let the listeners know, as well as, yeah, what's your preferred method?
Yeah, definitely social media. I do text or DM as if it's my personal number. So Tiny Optometrist, you can DM me there and I will reply. So yeah, I think Instagram or TikTok. TikTok is more a little out there for me. It's more like fun. Instagram is more like my optometry. So if you need to reach out to me, Tiny Optometrist on social media, all the channels, I'm there.
Well, Angelica, thank you for taking the time. I can attest to that. I did reach out and it took us a minute to coordinate. She is a busy, busy girl. But that's all we have for today's episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and share this episode out so others can hear the good word of what's going on in our profession and more about Angelica's story. But that's it for today. Make sure you stay tuned for my next podcast where we can reflect and grow stronger together.